Padre Francesco, Papa Francesco, all'infinito amore misericordioso.
Fratelli e sorelle.
He was a pope of many firsts. The first from Latin America, the first Jesuit, the first to take the name Francis. Pope Francis made one thing very clear from the very beginning, that his papacy would be different. Today, Pope Francis died. He was 88 years old. The news of his death came as a shock to many. The Pope was in hospital recently. He was battling double pneumonia. After weeks of treatment, he finally recovered. He was discharged a few days ago. Last week, he made some high-profile appearances. On Thursday, he visited a prison in Rome. On Saturday, he visited St. Peter's Basilica. On Sunday, he appeared on his balcony, to the surprise of the crowds. He did not lead the Easter services, but he did a tour of the piazza in his Pope mobile. He met and blessed hundreds of people. He also met with US Vice President J.D. Vance and even exchanged Easter greetings.
Not been feeling great, but it's good to see you in better health.
Earlier today, the news of his passing was made public. Thousands have already gathered in Vatican City. People are mourning. Some were seen crying. Tributes are pouring in from across the globe, including from world leaders. Pope Francis will be laid to rest outside the Vatican. This marks a significant departure from tradition. Typically, popes are buried beneath St. Peter's Basilica, but Pope Francis chose a different resting place. It will be the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore. In doing so, he becomes the first pope in a century to be buried outside the Vatican. Like we said, this pope was different. What is his legacy? How did he influence the Catholic Church? Was he able to reform it? Who will be the next pope, and how is the pope selected? Lots of questions. Let's look at the story of Pope Francis first. His name was Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He was born in 1936 in Argentina's Buenos Aires. He came from a family of Italian immigrants. Pope Francis described himself as an Argentine raised on pasta. He once swept floors, worked as a nightclub bouncer, and studied chemistry. Later, he gave it all up to become a Jesuit priest. He was ordained in 1969. In 2001, he became a cardinal. In 2005, he initially sought to become pope, but ended up there only in 2013.
Fratelli e sorelle, buonasera.
His vision for the papacy was simple: strip away the pomp and return to the gospel. He ditched the papal palace for a guest house. He usually flew economy. He cooked his own meals. He auctioned off his Harley Davidson. He snuck out at night to feed the homeless. In some ways, Pope Francis was a traditionalist, like on issues of abortion and celibacy for priests. In other matters, he broke the traditional papal mold. He allowed blessings for same-sex couples.
If someone is gay and he searches for the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge?
He tried to clean up financial corruption in the Vatican. He appointed more women to leadership roles, urged for immediate climate action, built bridges with the Muslim world, sought to play peacemaker in conflicts, called for a ceasefire in Gaza and Ukraine, and asked for compassion for refugees.
This morning, I received 2 delegations, one of Israelis who have relatives held hostage in the Gaza Strip and another of Palestinians who have relatives imprisoned in Israel. They suffer so much, and I heard how both sides are suffering. This is what wars do. But here we have gone beyond wars. This is not war. This is terrorism.
The Pope faced 2 big challenges. One was tackling clerical sexual abuse in the church. He tried to address it, even issued an edict to report it. But he was accused of not doing enough.
This is my anguish and pain, the fact that some priests and bishops violated the innocence of minors and their own priestly vocation by sexually abusing them. They are something more than despicable acts. It is like a sacrilegious cult, because these boys and girls had been entrusted to the charisma of priests in order to be brought to God.
The other challenge was Catholicism losing ground. Country after country is seeing massive drops in church attendance. There are fewer baptisms. People may still identify as Catholic culturally, but they do not practice it. The church's moral rigidity often alienates people. Younger generations are seeking meaning elsewhere. So Pope Francis had to tackle that, which is why he traveled extensively, especially in Africa and Asia. In fact, his last trip was a 12-day visit to Asia. Now, these are places where Catholicism is booming, and the Pope wanted to support it. Even when his knees gave out, he traveled in a wheelchair. Now that he's gone, his successor will have to take this effort forward. But who will that be? Who will be the successor? For now, the Vatican has appointed an acting head. He is called the Camerlengo. After the Pope is buried, the search for a new Pope begins. It starts with a private gathering at the Vatican called the Conclave. Now, technically, any Roman Catholic male can be elected Pope. He is chosen by a group called the College of Cardinals. For the selection of the Pope, every cardinal under the age of 80 travels to Rome. Once they arrive at the Vatican, the process begins. The voting takes place in the Sistine Chapel. Each cardinal receives a ballot and writes the name of the candidate they want to elect. But they cannot vote for themselves. If a cardinal gets more than 2/3 of the vote, he becomes the Pope. If no one reaches that threshold, 2/3 of the vote, voting continues. They repeat that process. Sometimes it takes days until a decision is made. The entire process is secretive. Voting is done behind closed doors. No talking to anyone outside the room. No phones or cameras. The Sistine Chapel is off limits to all. Once the vote is cast, the ballots are burned with a special chemical. If the smoke is white, the world knows that a new Pope has been chosen. If it is black, it means the voting is still on. And the world waits. The smoke is a signal, a way for the outside world to stay updated on the progress. So who could be the next Pope? A lot of names are doing the rounds, but here are the top 3 ones. Peter Turkson from Ghana, Louis Tagle from the Philippines, and Peter Erdo from Hungary. If any of the first 2 are chosen, he would be the first Pope ever from Asia or Africa. Of course, the choice is up to the cardinals, but Pope Francis realized something early on in his papacy, that the church is not a museum, it is a living thing. And all living things must change with time. The church must change too.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and click the notification button in order to be updated when we post new videos.